is Catholic Daily Reflections for Monday of the 30th week in Ordinary Time. Today's reflection is entitled, The Burden of Scrupulosity. But the leader of the synagogue, indignant that Jesus had cured on the Sabbath, said to the crowd in reply, "There are 6 days when work should be done. Come on those days to be cured, not on the Sabbath day." The Lord said to him in reply, "Hypocrites! Does not each one of you on the Sabbath untie his ox or his ass from the manger and lead it out for watering?" Why would the leader of the synagogue be indignant that Jesus cured a woman on the Sabbath? She was crippled for 18 years. Imagine especially her family. They would have seen her many years of suffering and shared them with her through years of compassion. If they were present when Jesus healed her on the Sabbath, would they have immediately thought, "How dare Jesus do this healing of our mother, wife, or sister on the Sabbath?" Of course not. They would have rejoiced and been filled with awe, gratitude, and even tears. This normal reaction that her family would have had upon witnessing this miracle is the right response. And of course, the reaction of the leader of the synagogue was deeply disordered. Why would this leader of the synagogue do such a thing? Though he and many other scribes, Sadducees, Pharisees, and scholars of the law struggled with envy and hypocrisy, others may sometimes react similarly to this leader of the synagogue for other reasons. One such reason is scrupulosity. Scrupulosity is the tendency to see God and His holy will through the lens of legalism. Legalism is not just being faithful to the law of God, because that is a good thing. Legalism is a misinterpretation of God's law by which one tends to put more emphasis upon themselves than upon God. A scrupulous person is preoccupied with himself. They tend to be far more concerned with sin than with God Himself. And though it's vital to be concerned with sin, when fear of sinning becomes a form of obsession, then that obsession has the effect of clouding the pure will of God and leaves a person heavily burdened and unable to joyfully live out the authentic will of God. Saint Therese of Lisieux was one saint who openly shared her struggles with scrupulosity in her autobiography. Of this struggle, which she referred to as oversensitivity, she said, "One would have to pass through this martyrdom to understand it well, and for me to express what I experienced for a year and a half would be impossible." However, she eventually experienced what she called a complete conversion, by which the heavy burden of oversensitivity was lifted. Though this oversensitivity oppressed her in various ways, one way it affected her was that she feared that even some of her random thoughts were mortal sins and that she would be condemned for them. Though the leader of the synagogue was most likely not struggling with oversensitivity in the same way as Saint Therese, he was acting with an extreme scrupulosity which led him to be harshly judgmental and condemning of our Lord for His good deed done to this crippled woman. Today's reflection is entitled Silence. One of the dangers many encounter in our modern technological world is that of constant noise. We are easily bombarded with chatter all day long. It could be through the radio, TV, internet, or the ceaseless conversation of another. rarely do we find times of great silence. As a result, when silence is offered us, we often look to fill that silence immediately. But is this wise? Is it good to occupy our minds day and night with noise? Every person does need times of regular silence and solitude. Without this, it is hard to be recollected and to hear the voice of God. God speaks in the silence, and He desires to communicate to you through this sacred language. Do not run from silence, for if you do, you will be running from the voice of God. Try to take some time today alone in silence. If you find that it is difficult to do even for 5 minutes, then this is a sign that there is too much noise in your life. Entering silence can bring on a form of withdrawal from noise. We tend to be comfortable with it as we are entertained all day long. But try to take time in silence today. Resolve to do so as long as you can. Turn off the radio in the car, go for a walk, or sit and pray without thinking or speaking, just being quiet in the presence of God. The gift of silent communication with God is a gift that you need, and you will learn more from silence than from hours of the noise of the world. Jesus, I trust in you.